Howdy y'all. Today I wanted to go over a little review over my H&K USP 45 Tactical because it seems to be a pretty popular pistol for a number of reasons which I'll go over. So to start, as with some of my other videos, we'll start off with what I'm drinking, and today we have some Budweiser Discovery Reserve. Now this stuff is actually it's actually not bad for as far as Budweiser goes. I mean, it's not very hard to be better than Budweiser, in my personal opinion. Regular Bud and Bud Light is kind of really like low tier beer. I don't drink it very often, but this stuff, kind of stood out to me a little bit. It was something different, so I wanted to try it, and it's actually not too bad. So, yeah, I could recommend picking some up. So, back to the pistol. What we have here is H&K USP Tactical 45. Right, pretty cool gun. It's quite large for a for a full size pistol. So this gun's pretty notorious for being the pistol of choice for the counter-terrorist and Counter-Strike. If you've ever played that, I'm sure a lot of you have. That's basically one of the main reasons why I got this gun, is simply because for the nostalgia factor, and also for the fact that, one, it's HK, so you know it's cool, and they hate you. Two, it's 45, so it's big old honking round. Three, it's got the really cool target sights, which I quite like. Four, it's got a threaded barrel from the factory, so you can put your favorite cans on. And 45 is one of those platforms that is really, really good for suppressing as well. So if and when that day comes that I get a can for this, it'll look really, really cool and shoot really good too. So, yeah, USPs are pretty well known. They're very, very, very durable pistols, despite being a polymer frame pistol. It's got the characteristic HK European style paddle mag release right here on the side. So you just pop that bad boy out, put it back in. I actually prefer the paddle style release. I run a H&K VP9 as my competition pistol, and I've basically left that thing all but stock except for the sights, which I put target sights on. But yeah, with the paddle release, I'm much faster with that than a conventional button release, which is blasphemy for a lot of people, but it works for me, and maybe it might work for you. So yeah, big old honking thing. Carries 12 rounds of 45, which is not entirely impressive, given some of the other options out there, like the FNX 45. But if you're in the know and you've ever shot a USP Tactical versus an FNX 45, the difference is night and day. FNX 45's Tacticals just feel cheap. They feel wrong compared to something like this. And, I mean, let's be honest, that gun was designed to be a direct competitor to this gun, and it fell short pretty hard, in my opinion. So, not that those won't work for you. They will if you pick one up, I'm sure. But if you're going to be spending the money, you might as well spend the money and get the real thing like this, in my opinion. So, a little bit of the story, I guess, for me with the USP was when I spent a year in California behind enemy lines. I know it's a terrible thing, right? A friend of mine up there had a regular old USP 45, the non-tactical model, because I'm pretty sure he's not allowed to have all these, these assault features, right? Anyway, so he had a bare stock 45 USP, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try it. And I have to admit, for being as light as this is, and for being a 45, the recoil was like almost nothing. Like it didn't beat up your hand. It didn't jump very much. The recoil was just really, really controllable. And what I found out was that the recoil system in these is actually a little bit different from other pistols. It has it's got like, HK has like a patent on it. It's like a three spring kind of system on the inside. You guys can look it up. It's a very, very interesting design, and it really, really tames the recoil of these things really, really well. So even though this is not as super heavy as like a 1911 and 45, these actually shoot better than a 1911 in my opinion. So after shooting his, I was sold on getting one of these things, because I was going to get one eventually. It's kind of like, oh, it's that cool gun from Counter-Strike that the counter-terrorists use, right? But after shooting it, it's like there's something special about having a firearm that you like from, I don't know, your favorite video game, movie, franchise, whatever, but it also shoots really good too. That's something really, really special. So, and that's definitely something that I found with this. What else to say about this? I mean, it's basically it's a really, really good sidearm. If I was going to be deployed somewhere downrange, I would absolutely love to carry one of these things as my duty sidearm. It may be a little bit large, but honestly, I just know this thing will work. It's super accurate. It's very reliable. You can't kill these things. Look up USP torture tests, and these things are just crazy durable. So, yeah, I mean, so I guess a little bit of history about these guns in particular too is when 40 cal was coming onto the scene, the German police wanted something in 40 cal. So HK basically made the USP from the ground up in 40 cal. It was designed to handle 40 cal from the start. One of the few polymer frame pistols designed to do that. And a little tidbit, the Glock pistols actually were not meant to handle 40 cal at all. All they did was upsize the frame a little bit and rechamber it to 40, and they called it a day. That's why you hear so many stories of some of the early Glock 40 cals basically exploding, cracking, breaking in some way, because they were never designed to handle 40 cal from the start. Oftentimes a 40 cal, it's not as simple as just upscaling things, but the USP was designed from the ground up to handle 40 cal. So now they offer them in all kinds of calibers, 9mm, 45 obviously, and I know there's a few 10 millimeter and 460 Roland conversions running around there, but I've never seen one myself. So yeah, I guess so. The differences between the tactical and the regular models is the shape of the trigger actually is a little bit different. If you see that little notch back there on the back of the trigger, that is a adjustable trigger stop. So that determines just how far back it hits the back of the frame when you pull the trigger all the way through its length of travel. That's one feature, is the adjustable trigger for these things. Not that it really needs to be adjusted in my opinion, because the trigger's already pretty good. I mean, it just is. It's not as good as like a really finely tuned 1911 in single action, but for a duty weapon, it's really, really good. Better than a Glock, that's for sure. I will say the double action on these is quite heavy, and it's not all that great, but it does work. And despite being a polymer trigger, it actually doesn't feel cheap or bendy or weak or anything. It just works. So tactical models also feature the suppressor height sights and the target sights here. I believe these target sights are made by LPA. LPA is a very popular brand in Europe for competition shooters and for people who want target sights. In fact, that's where I got my LPA sights for my VP9. I had to order it from Estonia, of all places, and it took a couple weeks to get here. So, yeah, tactical models also have a threaded barrel. Now, the thing I hate about this gun in particular is the freaking thread protector on here. I never remember which way to turn it because it's opposite of regular things that screw on. So, righty tighty, lefty loosey does not apply to these, but I can never remember if it's like this or if it's like that, or or which way to turn it. And I've actually I scratched up the knurling on this one in particular because I was taking stupidly probably I took some vice grips to this and I was trying to get it off, and I was turning it the wrong way and I was actually tightening it instead of loosening it. So I've also noticed that if you put this thread protector on even just a little bit, when you start firing this thing, it actually makes it tighter. I don't know if that's by design or if that happens with all thread protectors, but that's definitely something that I just never get used to on this pistol, and sometimes I even leave the thread protector off because it just makes it easier for me to take this apart, field strip it, and clean it. But yeah, this thread protector is an absolute bear sometimes, and not my favorite thing about threaded barrels is that you have to take the thread protector nut off in order to field strip the gun. Not that this gun really needs a whole lot of maintenance to begin with, but just something that bothers me about this. But that's on me, not the gun. In classic HK fashion, the rails on here are proprietary to HK. I don't think they're ever going to change that with the USPs. there are adapters out there, but it kind of sucks that they don't go to a traditional pick rail system. You have to deal with that. But I mean, if you're already buying an HK, you already have money to blow anyway, so you might as well just spend the extra and just get the adapter that you need. So, other than that, I have this really cool drop leg holster that I got from, let's see if it's on there, London Bridge Trading. There was a group buy in one of the Mark 23 USP Facebook groups. They did a little group buy thing, and they came out with these really cool drop leg holsters for left, right hand, coyote tan, and black. And these are actually designed for Mark 23, so these things are absolutely huge. And I don't know if I can show you this, but if you look there, see how much more space it has at the end of the holster there, because this holster was designed for Mark 23s with suppressors to go out the end of this, and this was designed to be swam with. So they said that these are patterned after the ones that the actual like Special Forces dudes use, but I don't know how much I believe that, because one, I've never really taken a hard look at the equipment that Special Forces dudes use when they use Mark 23s. But honestly, like, this thing is just super, super well built. Like, it's tough as hell. You can carry an extra mag or an extra, or even just carry your suppressor in this big, huge pouch right here. It's got lanyard loop if you need that kind of thing. It's got like 3 different ways of retention, and yeah, it's just a really, really awesome holster. And it's one of the only holsters I found that fits this damn gun, because the sights are so big that a regular holster just doesn't work for these. So if you get a USP 45 holster, most often it will not fit these tactical models, because they have the huge target sights on there. So that's another downside to this gun, is that it's almost impossible to find holsters for this damn thing because of the sights. So that's why I ordered something like this. So whenever I'm out and about in the town and I feel like open carrying, or I'm going out in the desert and I want to have this strapped to my side, I carry it in this drop leg holster, and it's just awesome. So it wasn't cheap either, that's for damn sure, but worth every penny if you ask me. So how does this shoot? When I was home on leave one time, and I'd flown home with some weapons of mine, and flying with weapons it's a process, to say the least. So I flew home because I really wanted my dad to check out this pistol that I had gotten, because he's a big 45 junkie and always has been. So I was like, okay, well, you like 1911s, here, why don't you try this out? And he's like, okay, sure. He was a bit skeptical at first, because, you know, it's a polymer frame pistol, and he was like, oh, that can't be any good, right? No, it's some German made gun, it can't be that good, right? Well, he was pleasantly surprised. We went to the range, and it's okay, let's try it. And at every range that he tried it at, 7, 10, 15, 20, and 25, he was like just easily tearing out the center of that target like it was nothing. And he'd never fired this before, and it was just boom, 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 boom. There's a big gaping hole in the center of the target, and he just wasn't even trying. And he was just blown away by it. So if an old man like my dad can appreciate something like this, I'm pretty sure any of us can too. And for my personal record with this gun, this is one of the most accurate pistols that I own. I'd say, and due in large part to the like just awesome quality of this gun, but also the single action trigger on this is really, really nice. It's very, very, very light, very crisp. It's just good, you know. So look at that. My personal record for this, I got just under 2 inches, 5-shot group at 25 yards offhand with this. It can probably do better than that, but that was definitely the extent of my ability at that time. You know, and if you can get a 2-inch group at 25 with a handgun, you're doing just fine. You can hit a person out to 100 probably. And actually, I did take this out to 100 one time. I was just benching, having my arms like basically rested on top of the bench, and just kind of, you know, doing as best as I could, benching a pistol as you can. And there was a big human-sized steel target out there at 100, and I'm just, you know, taking my time, just boom, boom, boom. And 45 is really cool because it's so slow that my buddy who was spotting me could actually see the bullets travel and hit the target, and just, you know, and you can hear the steel ring down there even with headphones on. And you know, 11 out of 12 shots out of this thing, I was hitting steel every single time, you know, well, 11 out of 12 times, right? But it's just really cool that you can take something like this out to 100 yards and still hit somebody with it, albeit, you know, on a bench, taking your time, that kind of thing. And you really wouldn't want to shoot somebody 100 yards with a 45 anyways. But the fact that you can with something like this, I mean, that's just really cool to me. And if you've never shot pistols at 100 yards, I would definitely recommend trying it at least once, just to see what you and your pistol are capable of. So, to finish out, I guess, the value for these things is I probably paid a little bit too much for this. I probably paid $1,200 out the door for this, and I have to say it's worth every penny to me. I really enjoy this pistol. It's my favorite 45 that I own, even more than my custom done of 1911 that I have. I mean, this gun is just better than 1911s in pretty much every single way, in my opinion. So if you're looking to get a USP or, you know, USP tactical model like this, I mean, you can't go wrong. You know, it may look like an absolute brick, and it's got the weird paddle mag release, but honestly, once you get over those things, like this thing will just work for you. And as of the making of this video, there's been a rash of police trade-ins for USP 40s, and that is the cartridge that this pistol was designed for. So they will definitely work for you, definitely. I highly encourage people to try out these pistols. I know it's HK, and you know, HK, we hate you. Give us your money. But it's really worth it for these things. I really think so. These, you know, really is one of my favorite pistols, even without all of the fanboyism and history that I have behind like the video games and things like that. These are really just excellent pistols, and you know they've been used for years for a reason, because they just work. So yeah, that's the USP Tactical 45. Love it. The only thing could probably beat this is probably a Mark 23, but honestly, Mark 23s actually don't have as good a trigger as this. I've handled a few, and even though they're larger than this, they just don't have the same trigger, which is, you know, interesting fact. So yeah, I definitely recommend picking one of these up if you like USPs, if you like H&K, if you want a nice classic looking pistol that was designed, you know, like when 40 was getting popular, and you want something that just shoots really well, then definitely pick one of these up. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that.